Hello, my name is John Weeden, and I am the guest curator of Present Tense at the Dixon Gallery. The exhibition started out via a series of conversations between myself and the director of the Dixon, Kevin Sharp, about the vibrancy and vitality of the Memphis visual art scene in 2012-ish. The conversation began much earlier, probably in 2008 or 9, via a series of ideas that we had about working together. We had gotten to know each other through some shared work on the board of a group called the Urban Art Commission, and we got to know what each other was about and what we enjoyed looking at in terms of art, and the idea came about, well, we should do something in the future. What that would have been, we weren't sure at that time, but a few years later, Kevin met a gentleman named Jim Meeks, who's the director of a group called Northwestern Mutual. And like myself, Jim appreciates contemporary art and had lived in a number of different cities where the scene was very vibrant and wanted to help support the cultivation of that in Memphis. And so Dixon came to me, Kevin Sharp came to me and said, I think we've got an idea if we want to do a project about contemporary art in Memphis. And that really interested me because that's my background, contemporary art specifically, and then Memphis being my home, a place that I love. It was a very enticing, big project. So we began having conversations about what contemporary art in Memphis needed to look like in terms of an exhibition. And we decided that it couldn't be just a snapshot of what was happening right this minute, because that would do the entire scene a disservice, because it didn't just appear out of the ether overnight. Took the efforts of many scores of people, several years, to develop it into a viable community. So we decided we would look back about a dozen years and start with 2001 as the starting point. So the big general guideline, my marching orders from Kevin Sharp, were go develop a portfolio of possibilities to represent the dynamic culture of the visual arts of Memphis over a dozen years. And then we'll talk and we'll see what we can do and what we can come up with. So through a series of conversations about that big dossier of material, my first presentation was over 300 individual artists and over 1,000 individual images by those artists. We started seeing what was possible to actually install in the exhibition space, as well as who those artists were that really provided influence and development within the cultural scene itself, and then of course just who was doing excellent work. So there are any number of considerations as to why different artists became included in the exhibition. We decided at one point not to include examples of public art, for example, even though that's a very dynamic history in and of itself. The limits of the gallery space and the traditional practicalities of an interior exhibition did not really lend itself to presenting public art in a really compelling way. We didn't want to just show diagrams or photos of things that are installed throughout the city, for example. We wanted to show actual artworks by individual artists, and so we did that. We went that route, and I think successfully. There are over 100 individual pieces in the exhibition by 70 artists, and of those pieces there's a very strong showing of painting and sculpture, a few examples of video art, a couple of examples of installation practices, but it was tailored to the space of the Dixon itself. It was orchestrated and laid out and designed to work well within the exhibition galleries of the Dixon Museum itself. And I think these works come alive in this setting. The residential nature of the space does something for these works that I don't believe a typical white box contemporary art international scene space would have really done. It's not meant to be slick or glossy or pristine. It's meant to be warm and inviting and enchanting, and I think that we do that very well within this exhibition. The reaction has varied from very positive to the skeptical. And even the skeptical audiences, even their critique or their queries or their confusion have all resulted in an overwhelmingly positive experience, because what it has done is it has provoked discussion about contemporary art making within the city itself and brought to the fore the importance of contemporary visual arts practices and the number of artists involved in the city doing an incredible variety of different stylistic and media-based practices, which I doubt was really known previous to this happening on a widespread basis. And so my hope is that audiences will have come to the exhibition and learned a great deal about the history of Memphis art making within this period. Two, discovered new artists that they perhaps didn't know about, and that will cause them to go follow up and learn more about them on their own. And then, third, to spur a conversation about what else is possible, what else can be done, what else does the art community here need in order to grow and thrive and develop any number of various incarnations. So overall, I have been ecstatically impressed with working with the Dixon and the commitment to contemporary art practices that the institution has shown, and also impressed with the community itself, because the reaction has been intense. It's been incredibly well visited. It's been discussed extensively in the local media, as well as the blogosphere and the online culture. And so we've got the makings of a broader conversation here, and I think that in the end that has really served the community well. And hopefully it will lead to more exhibitions showing contemporary art on a large scale in the future, because artists, I believe, are one of the most dynamic components of the cultural engine that this city has got to pay attention to in order to grow and thrive and be a world-class cultural hub in the future. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.